Shalom, shalom. Before I get started, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Harakak Radash. Double honors to the old apostles, Great Millstone, who I learned this truth from. And to the men of the Lord, wherever you're at on earth, teaching the same. All right, shalom. Okay, the title of this lesson, okay, will be spiritual minded and get out your feelings. Be spiritual minded and get out your feelings. All right, and it might be worded a little bit different, okay? And you got to understand that what's going on in these last days and these end times is biblical prophecy, okay? And what I want to talk about is speaking to the men, women, and children, that come into this truth, all right, and serve Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah to the best of their ability, all right, in truth and sincerity, okay? And the point I want to focus on is, when it comes to, your biological family members separating themselves or from you and being divided, because whether you in the truth or not, this end time prophecy of family and friends being divided, and not communicating, not coming together how they used to. This is a sign of the end times, okay? And it really kicked in after 2019, okay? And I told that story a while ago, but we, my family members just had a anniversary in March 2025, but not that many people came. It was dry. It was, it wasn't like 2015. Okay, 2015 family reunion. All right, it was jumping. They had to rent out a brick park. And it was probably thousands. Thousands of cars and family from all over. And jumping just 10 years in the future to 2025 in March, barely anybody showed up, to the anniversary. All right. And that shows you prophecy kicking in. All right, when you meditate on and be circumspect what's going on in the world and applying the prophecies to now, you clearly see how, we're living in perilous times. We're living in times of Jacob's trouble. Okay? And, shit is about to hit the fan. Okay? And like I said, don't be emotional, because the Lord told us, you're going to have foes of your own household. All right? And the Lord is not going to bring your whole family member into the truth. Okay, you got to understand that. Now, you do have certain instances where you have, a father, mother, and son, all right, and daughter, they all come into the truth and they believe in Yahweh Hashem, Yahweh Shah. You do have that. But, it's few and far in between. So that don't go for everybody. All right? So, and you got to understand that just because the Lord called you into this truth, that don't mean he's going to call your whole family. Okay? And, we understand, us men of the Lord, we understand that it is, a touchy topic or situation. All right? But you come to the realization of that prophecy. All right? And you got to deal with it. Okay? So don't take it personal, or don't take it emotional when your biological family members, they separate themselves from you, or they talk about you, or even try to set you up or whatever. Okay? You know, and like I said, whether you're in the truth or not, that prophecy of your biological family members being divided, nobody getting along, that's gonna affect you know, it's gonna affect you. Okay? You know, and not speaking to the men, women, and children in this truth in Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, you know, that prophecy, you know, don't affect us, all right? Because we're serving Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah, all right? And those prophecies and those those curses, the Lord allow that to not affect you, okay? That's why your household will be, you know, in order, okay? And you know, 2/3 households will be chaos. You know, the wife disrespecting the husband, the children disrespecting the husband, all right, and things like that. Okay, and you do have those instances when a man of the Lord comes into the truth, all right, and he loses children, all right, he loses his wife because they you know, they distance themselves from him and they don't agree with his beliefs. All right? So everybody got their own lot, they got their own things they're going through. Okay? So this Luke chapter 12 and 49, it says, I am come to send fire on the earth, and what will I if it be already kindled? But I have a baptism to be baptized with, and how am I straight until it be accomplished? Suppose ye that I am come to give peace on the earth? I tell you, nay, meaning no, but rather division. For from henceforth there shall be 5 in one house divided, 3 against 2, and 2 against 3. All right, the father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father, the mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother-in-law against her daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Okay? You know, and I know we all see that amongst our biological, you know, family and cousins. All right? You know, nobody gets along, everybody distant. That's a end time prophecy, all right, coming to pass. Okay? And I'm gonna tell you the story. One of my aunties recently passed, like 2 weeks ago, I believe. And you know, me and my grandma went to go pay her a visit. We stayed for like 2 hours while she was in the hospital. You know, and the doctor was basically saying, you know, she don't got that much longer. You know, and she's in a very bad condition. All right, and you know, the cancer like took a toll on her, you know, and and you know how the older generation is. They listen to Esau, and they listen to the doctors in the hospital. They not gonna listen to no herbalists or herbalists. They're not gonna listen to you trying to give advice. Okay, they're not trying to give advice on eating healthy or exercise. They're not about to hear that shit. But or trying to cure cancer, they're not about to hear that shit, you know. But yeah, my grandma, she wanted to go after 20 minutes, you know. And but she didn't tell nobody else, but she told me. And the reason why she wanted to go, because she didn't like other certain family members that came to the hospital to visit my auntie. So that goes to show you the love of many have waxed cold. Okay? You know, and that's but it was the reason why we stayed for 2 hours, because I told her now I wanted to, you know, stay a little bit longer. You know, but she was ready to go. She couldn't stand being around certain family members. Okay? So that shows you we're in the last days. All right, you can see the prophecies playing out in real time. All right, and you're supposed to be spiritual minded and not, it shouldn't affect you. You're supposed to understand what's going on. All right, we spiritual soldiers. All right, we completely understand and circumspect of what's going on. Okay, and we move accordingly. Okay. So this Matthew 24:12, and because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. All right, and it's talking about this gospel of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah. Because ever since the prophets came on the scene, this world been going to shit. Because the Lord sent the prophets out to tell you what the Lord is going to do in the near future. And the prophets, have done and are doing their job. All right? And now, Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah is about to perform what he said he was going to do in the Bible. Okay? And one of those things is what? Bring division. Okay? Amongst countries, nations, family and friends, on every level. Bring division. All right? This is what the end times look like. Okay? So this message is really to the new sincere believers, all right, that just finding this truth out, ran into the prophets of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah, and you're trying to figure out your way. Okay? All right. So this 2 Timothy 3:1, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. Okay, for men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. All right, without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despisers of those that are good. All right, traitors, heady, high-minded, lovers of pleasures, more than lovers of Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah. Okay, so everybody gonna wax worse. All right, 2/3 of our people are gonna wax worse and worse. These false prophets gonna wax worse and worse. Okay, the times you're living in is gonna become more dangerous and apocalyptic. Okay. That's why you got Christians doing all type of shit now. You got Christians, you got pastors, doing, getting off into prostitution. You just had this woman going viral for going on a podcast talking about how, how the church introduced her to prostitution. Okay. And one of the members in the church got her hooked on drugs. All right. I think one of the members in the choir or something like that, or that played the piano, got her hooked on drugs. And then later on in her life, she became a stripper. And then later on, she became like a porn star. Okay, so that woman is going viral. So the point is, people in the Christian church are waxing worse and worse. And the Lord is going to expose all these religions. Okay? The Lord is going to expose who has the truth and who don't. Okay? That's the beauty of it. All right? Jacob's trouble. All right, when society collapses, it's going to prove who the Lord is dealing with, who Yahweh B'Shem Yahweh Shah is dealing with, and who the Lord is not dealing with. Who has the truth and who don't. Okay, who was telling the truth and who wasn't. That's the beauty of it. So the talking the time for talking is going to be over. Okay? Now you're going to have to live out, you're going to have to show your faith. Okay? Our faith is going to be put to the test in Jacob's trouble. Okay? So this second Ezra 15, and I'm going to start up. 2 Ezra 15 and 5, and I'm going to be jumping down. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world. The sword, famine, death, and destruction for wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Verse 19, a man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. Okay? And I want to end it and give all praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Harakakbadash, and double honors to the old apostles, great millstone, and honors and salutations to the men of the Lord doing the same, teaching the same.